Mic check 1 2. Yeah, Mike. I think we're back. So, hello, and welcome to another edition / episode of Son of a Preacher Man. As always, I am your host, the Soapman himself, Troy. And I want to thank you for joining me once again. As always, if you are new to this channel, hit that like and subscribe button. And we just gonna get right down to business, you know what I mean? So, today's video is a short video, so I'm not so constrained or constricted by time. So we can just chill and take it easy, you know what I mean? In my last video, we talked about Abraham and what the plan was to get through Abraham and Isaac and down through Jacob. But we were having so much fun, we just lost track of time. And so I made a whole separate video for Abraham. Now the reason I skipped Isaac is because it's not very much to say about Isaac. I really covered him in the story of Abraham. The biggest thing about Isaac is that Abraham was about to sacrifice him. He was a prophet like his father and his father's fathers before him. And the only other big thing is that he had Jacob. Now, before we talk about Jacob, I want to tell you, when you're doing videos on characters and figures as big as Jacob and Abraham, you're going to run into a lot of the same problems, which is these are such humongous historical and biblical figures. It would take many videos to cover their entire story. So what I had to do with Jacob was the same thing that I did with Abraham. I had to choose one story out of the many great epics that come along with his life story. And to tell you the truth, it wasn't that hard of a decision, and I think you'll see why in a minute. So, I should give a little background on Jacob, just to, see where he started out and how he came into this game, how he fits into this story. And so, it starts with Isaac, and Isaac has twin boys, one named Jacob and one named Esau. So the Bible says that Esau was born first, and that he came out covered in red hair. And it also says that after Esau was born, Jacob was born right after. In fact, Jacob was holding on to Esau's ankle when Esau came out. So when Esau was born, you could see Jacob's hand holding on to his ankle as Esau came out. And so Jacob came out right after. Now they were fraternal twins, which means they were not identical. But twins are twins. They come from the same egg. But that's a story and a lesson for another video. So anyways, the only other thing really to say about Isaac, Jacob's father, is that Jacob, with the help of his mother, tricked Isaac into giving Jacob Esau's inheritance. Now let me explain that. In the Jewish custom, and not just only the Jewish custom, in a lot of customs, it was customary and tradition for the firstborn to get the lion's share of his father's inheritance. So there's a story how Jacob's mother, because she favored Jacob out of her two sons, she helped trick Isaac in his old age. She helped trick Isaac into giving Jacob Esau's rightful inheritance. Now I don't want to get into that story because it's a story for a whole nother video. And like all Jacob's stories, I'll end up making like 20 videos just trying to get through this man's life. So I guess the biggest thing to say about Jacob is spoiler alert, he spawned the 12 tribes of Israel. So, Jacob had 2 wives, Rachel and Leah. And each one of those wives had a handmaid. Rachel's handmaid was Bilhah, and Leah's handmaid was Zilpah. So he was married to the 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah. And each of his wives, the sisters, had a handmaid each. And so it's a long story. It's the subject of another video. But Jacob had 12 descendants from these 4 women. From Rachel, his favorite, his beloved, Ben-Amin and Yusuf. From Leah, Reuben, Levi, Simeon, Judah, and Issachar. From Bilhah, the handmaid of Leah. From Bilhah, the handmaid of Rachel. Bilhah was Rachel's handmaid. And from Bilhah, Jacob had Dan and Naphtali. From Zilpah, who is Leah's handmaid, Jacob had Gad and Asher. Now, just really quickly, the reason that Jacob was sleeping with his wives' handmaidens was because the 2 sisters were in constant rivalry over Jacob's attention. And one of the ways that they thought they could get Jacob's attention was to give him sons. And when they couldn't give him sons quick and fast enough, they gave their handmaids to Jacob to have sons. Now, you only see 11 names here, but there are going to end up being 12 tribes with 12 inheritances. And the way it works is Joseph's going to have 2 sons. So that'll bring the tribe from 11 to 12. Those 2 sons were named Ephraim and Manasseh. Manasseh is such a big tribe, it's going to be split in 2, with one of the tribes being combined to a smaller tribe. I forget which one. So that brings the total to 13. However, the tribe of Levi is a tribe of priests, or will become a tribe of priests, and they receive no inheritance. So you're back down to 12. The 12 tribes of Jacob. Now, let me tell you how I came about choosing which of the many great stories of Jacob. Because there really were so many to choose from. But there was this one. There was just this one story, and it just sticks out for me. It just gnaws at my bones. And it's the story titled Jacob Wrestles the Angel. Now, if you've been watching Soapman and you know me, you know I'm a big advocate against what we view to be angels in today's society. These winged men, these winged leaders of rock bands. And if you're guessing that me and my father got into a humongous fight over this subject, then you're right. So, let's just get into it. I really want to know what you think. To me, it's pretty clear, cut, and dry, okay? So, Jacob wrestles the angel. And once again, here we go. You have Jacob here in the red, battling the angel here in the white. And what do we see? Wings sprouting out of a man's back. Now, when I first brought this to my father as a young man, I said to him, I don't think Jacob was actually wrestling an angel. I think Jacob was having a dream. You see, when you read the Bible, it says frequently God visited Jacob in a dream. Similarly, he visits Isaac in dreams. Identically, he visits Abraham in dreams. There are all kind of examples. There are all kind of quotes that I can give you where it says, and God spoke to Abraham in a dream, and God spoke to Isaac in a dream, and God spoke to Jacob in a dream. But this particular time, it doesn't say that Jacob was dreaming. It says Jacob wrestled an angel. So when I brought this to my father, I said, he's dreaming, just like all the other times. And my father's answer was, he's praying. He's praying. Now, does that make any kind of sense to you? Because that does not make any sense to me. So, I didn't get frustrated. I asked my father to explain himself. What any rational-minded person would do. And the more he explained, the more my face just balled up, and I was just like, what? So, this was his explanation. You see, son, when people are in prayer, when people are really in prayer and they really putting it on the line for God, and you know, that's what Jacob was doing. He was praying real hard to God and he was shouting. So I says, well, that's a pretty hard shout. And you know, I've been to church before, and I've seen people shouting pretty hard. But where do you get praying and shouting to him wrestling with a man? And so he says, well, you see, son, he's praying so hard, it was like I'm like, what the? Here we go again. You changing the story around to fit your own narration. Let's take a look and see what it says for ourselves, so you can make up your mind who's right. Okay? So, once again, this story is usually titled Jacob Wrestles the Angel. And this is what it says. Speaking on Jacob, and he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And it goes on to say, and he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Now, let me ask you something. I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked my old man. I say he was dreaming. My father says he was praying real hard. If you praying real hard, you mean to tell me you're praying so hard that you knock your leg out of joint? Now, I'm no genius. I'll give you that. But it seems to me it's more likely that your leg is going to pop out of joint fighting someone or thinking that you're fighting someone. You have to be praying really, really damn hard. I mean, what was he doing? Cartwheels? I mean, come on. And so I'm telling my old man, I'm like, let's use common sense. He was praying and he was sitting there having a conversation with somebody. You mean to tell me he's praying to God and then stops praying to God to have a conversation with who? Oh God, I love you so. By the way, what's your name? Will you bless me? I'm not going to let you go till you do. So, in my reasoning, there's a history of this man having dreams. He's a prophet. God talks to men and he talks to prophets, through dreams. It makes sense to me that this man is having a dream. But my father is insistent upon believing this man is praying. And so I get off of the story and I'm trying to, I'm trying to rationalize what he's saying and I'm trying to figure out what's his reasoning. So I'm like, forget the story now. How are you coming to this conclusion that he's praying? Did someone tell you that? Or did you come up with that all by your lonesome? And the more we get to talking, the more I realize this is the work of this dude named Benny Hinn. Because I asked him, I said, I know you follow Benny Hinn. Is that what he said? And he went silent. So I knew I had him. I knew I had him. I said, is that where you got this from? I could care less about a Benny damn Hinn. I will put my foot right in Benny Hinn's ass. Matter of fact, I looked up Benny Hinn. This little blind boy is suing Benny Hinn. You want to know why? Because he went up to one of Benny Hinn's conventions to get healed and to get prayed for and healed. And when Benny Hinn called people up to get healed, he went up there. He pled his case to Benny Hinn, and Benny Hinn, oh Lord, and this and that, and blase-vous Skippy. You know how they do. You've seen it before. We've all seen it. The kabuki show, as my brother would call it. So the little boy went up there to Benny Hinn. Benny Hinn prayed for him and told that boy, he swore to that boy, you would be healed. You're going to be able to see within 24 hours. So said the Lord. And the music was playing. It was all theatrical. Yeah, everybody went home feeling real good. And that's really what it's all about. A lot of these churches, and I'm not saying all, some of these people are good people doing good work. But most of these shows are what my brother would call a kabuki show. It's motivational speaking meant to make you feel good and sleep good at night. It really don't amount to much more than that. And this little blind boy is suing Benny Hinn. You know why? Because the next morning he couldn't see. He said his sight got worse. Imagine that. And here my father is sending this dude money, listening to this dude, Benny damn Hinn. Look, man, I don't want to go off on a tangent. But I want to say something about Benny Hinn right now that'll lose me some subscribers. Anyway, let's take a closer look at what the Bible says. So, of course, being me, I highlighted a few things to, you know, prove my case. Let's reread the two slides in question. Now, this is Genesis chapter 32, verses 22 through 25. We're rereading them, and it says, "And he rose up that night," and I have night in bright red, bold print underlined. Why? Because it's nighttime. It says it right here. You don't have to take my word for it. You probably don't like me and don't like the sight of my ugly mug and don't like the sound of my voice and don't like the words that are coming out of it. But I'm just reading. Okay? I'm not saying it's nighttime. The Bible is saying it's nighttime. And he rose up that night. So it's night. It's dark. What do people do at night? I don't know. Sleep, dream. Anyway. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had, meaning sent over his belongings. And Jacob was left alone, it says in big, bold, red, underlined print. So here are the facts. It's nighttime. Jacob sends his family, his 4 women, his 2 wives, his 2 women servants, his 4 women. He sends them over with the children and with the belongings. It says, and sent over that he had. He sent his belongings, the cargo, the precious materials, the children. He sent them over. He sent them over the brook. He sent them away. It's nighttime and Jacob was alone. And there he wrestled a man. So it's alone and it's nighttime and he's wrestling a man. And he wrestled him, the Bible says, until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, meaning the man he wrestled saw that he prevailed not against Jacob, he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh. And Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled him. So this Jacob is rolling around on the ground. He's either praying like my father says, rolling around on the ground, praying so hard that this fool done popped his leg out of socket. That's how hard he was praying and shouting. That's per my old man and Benny damn hen. I think Benny drunk off some hen. Anyway, he's either praying and shouting real hard, or he's dreaming, thinking that he's wrestling someone. Actually, he wasn't thinking it. In his mind, he was dreaming. But if you would have saw him as he was dreaming, you would have saw a man rolling and wrestling on the ground with no one. In his mind, yes, in the dream, he was wrestling a man. But in reality, in real life, he was alone, as the Bible says he was. And it continues and it says, meaning the man he was wrestling says, and he said, "Let me go, for the day breaketh." Now I have this in big, bold, red, underlined print. And you ask, why, Soapman? Well, let me tell you. Why is it important to this man that Jacob is wrestling that it's daybreak? He says, "Let me go, for the day breaketh." Why does he care? Why does anybody care that it's about to be morning? Well, I believe he's telling Jacob to wake up. Wake up, because it's not nighttime anymore. It's about to be morning and you need to get up. And he says, "I will not let thee go except thou bless me." And he said unto him, "What is thy name?" Mind you, if he's praying real hard right now, he's praying and simultaneously having a full-blown conversation with someone. And he said unto him, "What is thy name?" What a conversation to have while you praying. And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince thou hast power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. For I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'll rest my case. This man was having a dream. And it's just as plain and as simple as that. Now, if you get caught up in the madness, if you get caught up in tradition, then this has to be a winged being or a winged man that Jacob is wrestling with. If you fall for the poof, then it makes perfect sense. My father tried to tell me, when I wouldn't fall for it, he tries to tell me, well, son, you wouldn't understand spiritual things. You see, you're unrighteous. Yeah, see, you're full of unrighteousness. You're full of unholiness. How can an unholy wretch such as yourself understand the things of God? You see, it's not meant for you, son. You're out there smoking and drinking and fornicating, and you're full of sin, and you're unholy. So I wouldn't expect you to understand the mind of God. And I'm just sitting here like, you gotta be kidding. Who falls for this? Are you serious? Who falls for this? And when you get off telling me I ain't holy and I'm unrighteous? Like as if that was even a decision for you to make. I mean, mind you, the smoking and drinking and fornicating. Okay. But still, I think somewhere in the good book it says, hey, he without sin cast the first stone. Okay, and I think I'm going to lean on that. And see, that's one of the reasons I started reading the Bible, to back my maniacal father up off me. Let me tell you something. A man once told me, he said to me, your old man, he said, I know your old man. He said, I know your old man. He said, we both come from Alabama. He said, I knew your old man when I moved up here from Alabama. He said, and I'm going to tell you this. He said, that old man of yours is the meanest man I ever met in my life. He said, I think he the meanest man on the planet. Now, he wasn't telling me nothing that I didn't already know. But I thought it peculiar that this information was coming from this individual. Because this individual was a criminal. He smoked, he drank, he robbed liquor stores. He was one of them old school cats from deep down south. His name was Bruh Mac. Little short, stocky, black, runaway slave looking Negro. And I said, damn, this dude is a straight criminal. And he's telling me that my father, who is a pastor, is the meanest man that he ever met in his life. And that he's not sure, but maybe could be the meanest man on the whole damn planet. So I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Okay? Maybe it'll give you, put some rationale to the way I think and, to my approach. I tell you these short stories, but it doesn't really do much justice and service to the true story, to the real story. And that's what I try to do as far as the Bible is concerned. See, the Bible, it just gives you a binocular type view, a binocular's view into what actually happened. You have this small, limited window of what actually happened in history. And what I try to do is, I try to expand the view. I try to fill in the gaps, fill in the blank with scientific evidence. Because it's hard to deny scientific evidence. And you're not denying me. You're denying either what's written or what they dig up out the ground. And so a lot of the times that's the point of contention with my father. Is science versus tradition. It's common sense versus opinion. I really don't know what to call it. Anyways, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of Son of a Preacher Man. On my next video, we're going to get real serious, y'all, okay? If you see my demeanor change, I'm warning you now. It's for good reason. It's because we about to get deep, neck deep into some nitty-gritty, confrontational, controversial subjects. Ooh, and I can't wait, okay? So far, I've got nothing but love from you all. And I want to thank y'all for all y'all support. In these last 8 videos that I've made, I've asked for feedback. And I've gotten nothing but positive feedback. And to tell you the truth, I was surprised. I expected to get, a lot more flack. And a lot more disagreement. A lot more fist pumping. But for the most part, it was 98% nothing but love. And I'm really grateful for that. But we'll see how long it lasts. Because it's some pretty deep subjects to get into. And I'm not going to pull no punches. I know I'm right and I can back up what I say. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, I want to say thank you once again for joining me. Be sure to tune in next time for Son of a Preacher Man. Soapman, I'm out.